Hey everybody, John O'Connor here again. First off, I'd like to say sorry that I haven't been posting this week. I had a close family friend who needed some help, so that took up a large chunk of my week. So I was unable to record, but rest assured there are more story times, bucket list characters, and all the like to be coming. This is actually a new segment that I want to start doing. I'm not sure if it'll take off or not. Like everything else, I'm just kind of throwing things at a wall and seeing what sticks and what doesn't. This segment I'm going to be calling After the Dice. And what I had noticed on watching a lot of videos on the Brigade and just a lot of videos in general on YouTube, people always want to talk about making their campaign or making their session night and the steps they take and the ideas they have, and the fun little things they're going to do for their players. Well, some of my players watch my videos, so I thought it'd be fun not to talk about what I'm going to do beforehand, but rather do a weekly video about how they react to everything. So this video is actually going to talk about the first 2 weeks since we started last week, and I meant to start this last week, but motivation and time, and I'm lazy. Okay. So, this adventure is taking place in Lexington in 1825, the third Great Air. Third Great Air, there we go. And this time we have Jonathan, the map maker, playing a human fighter who has an affinity to collecting weapons that he takes particular interest in. His backstory is kind of interesting because he's the fourth child between his parents. I can't think of their names right now. But first son is learning the business of weapon making and smithing. The next two boys, who were twins, are learning much about the maintaining weapons, how to make them, less about the business in it, more about the day-to-day operations. And then Jonathan's character, Jace, is kind of just left on his own. The third birth was a complicated one, so the mother died. So he's never been real close to his dad because it's that unspoken rule, kind of like, I'm not sure what I'm trying to say here, where, look, I don't hate you, but our relationship's always going to be strained just because you kind of killed my wife, kind of thing. So it makes for a fun, interesting story. His two partners are my buddies Karlea and Nicole, their characters. Karlea's playing something that we created this campaign called a lycanthrope-blooded, and the general idea behind it is that 6 months ago she woke up in basically a giant glass tube, broke the hell out. She heard some scrimmaging in the back. Some people were fighting. She's not sure who, and she just got the hell out of there. Well, in doing that, she came across a tiefling ranger who took a interest in her. The tiefling ranger was named Asia, and Asia met Reina, and Reina didn't have a name, didn't have any clothes, didn't have anything. And so over a 6 month period, Asia kind of formed a friendship, maternal, I'm responsible for you kind of bond for her. And, taught her the skills and trades of how to become a ranger, over the course of 6 months. And, well, after that time, Asia says, Reina, I care about you, but I have to go on. I have other things I need to be doing. And she kind of leaves her with its druidic order right outside of a town, or a small city, which is Old Hearth, where everything's taking place right now. Nicole's character, I'm going to be calling her Bell for short. She has a rather long elvish name, which is, commoners would just call her Bell for time constraints, was a prominent figure on the east end of the map. Yeah, she came from prominent family in Jericho, from the second capital, and, comes from a very aristocratic background. Well, her family holds a dark little secret. They are, and if you know a better pronunciation for this, please write it in the doobly-doo. Make me a responsible to do something, because we're getting tired of hearing it. It is a Fey Ray. Fairy. It sounds like a Japanese businessman trying to say fairy, but I mean that's how it's written. That's how it said. That's how it sounded out. Fairy. So she's a mixture of demon or devil, I can't remember, and elf, and she has the ability to shape shift into other humanoids, kind of thing. That ability is a little bit broken. So what I did to kind of limit it, I was like, yes, you can change your shape as you want because it's at will. But I was like, you can only do it with creatures that you've met. And she's like, well, have I met a merfolk? I'm like, no, you haven't met a merfolk yet. She's like, oh. So she holds that little secret that she's a fairy, and she got tired of her sheltered living because they kind of keep that secret that she has this demon heritage. So years and years of just being put in the dark cupboard, kind of, where it's like, well, you can walk the grounds, you can do whatever you want here, but we just can't let you leave. She got a little bored with that, and she hightailed it across the map, past the Deathclaw Catman Desert, where she became well-informed and well-versed in the... Right now it's 40 rules, but I'm going to be adding a lot more. I've discouraged my players from ever using the word 40, because I want to add more to it. But it is the Desert Trade Association's rules for keeping and earning profit. It's a fun little thing. I think I'll actually put the first 40 rules in the description so you guys can see it, get a good look. The inspiration for that was the Ferengi rules for acquisition. I tweaked them, moved them around, added a few. So she's a bard. She's a bard who becomes well versed in those wheelings and dealings. And by the time 6 months to get across the desert, comes to Old Hearth. And, a little bit broke in the pocket, wants to explore. My players are having a difficult time with it being a level 1 campaign. The last thing they did for 8 months was we started at level 10. So they're really struggling, and they're like, wow, we actually have to have jobs, we actually have to be doing things. We're not adventuring for the sake of adventuring, we're adventuring for the sake of, I'm hungry and I want something in my belly. So they all hear about, through various means, this organization called the Dragoon Order of Oscar Olsen is holding kind of these things where it's like, okay, we're holding open auditions, not to join our ranks, but we have minor missions that the church has given us, and now we're giving to you, so that you can do it. The idea behind this is, the Church of Pamis is a lawful good church, and a lot of people come to them because they respect them and they ask them to do a lot of things. Well, the church, being rather strained, hired a group of mercenaries that they could trust, who then in turn would hire other people to get things done. So if the mercenaries' hires ever do wrong or don't do the mission quite the lawful way, it purposely avoids the ear of the church. So they use these mercenaries as a buffer. But these mercenaries are sworn to the church. They believe in the order. But the funny thing was, when I was first putting this group together, and this is where the fun of After the Dice comes in, because these are stories that I might not remember a month or two from now. I originally went, okay, and now you are standing in front of the the Dragoon Order of Oscar Wilde. Originally it was going to be called Oscar Wilde. And Nicole looks at me dead in the eye and had that rage look like she wanted to flip a table. Oh, so we can't reference RPGs or other fantasy books, but American literature's alright. I was like, well, fuck, yeah. I always tell them, don't name your characters after Final Fantasy characters, don't say that your family's some JRPG name, and don't rip off Tolkien more than needed. And she's all like, oh, but you can rip off American literature. So I was like, well, shit, I was just called out on my stuff. So the Dragoon Order of Oscar Olsen quickly became the Dragoon Order of Oscar Wilde became Oscar Olsen. So I just kind of mid-game retconned myself, just, okay, that's what they're called now. And so they get sent off on a mission to go investigate a farmer's been having some trouble with a bear. So they go out to this farmer's land to investigate the bear, and they have very little trust in each other, nor should they. You know, they just met. And it's 2 women and 1 guy. Worst off, it's a human male. And it's just, okay, is this going to work? Isn't this going to work? They get out there, they find the farmer, he's dead. He's in a chair, slumped over, and there's a cut all across his neck. But it's not the cut of a skilled assassin. It's not just one. It was the hand of someone unsteady. So it's kind of jagged, and it leaves just enough room to go, could this have been a bear, even though there's nothing else rattled or taken out? So they're pretty sure that someone killed him, but it's like, okay, we were hired here to get a bear, and bears are intelligent creatures. Maybe they did something. So they go hunt down this bear, and my buddy Jonathan, kind of metagaming, kind of not, was like, alright, well, I know I can't take this bear head on. So I made him use role-playing to justify his metagaming. Because he's standing there, he has a javelin, and he picks up a rock, he throws it in the cave. You hear a bear. Thud, thud, thud. This bear looks at him, looks back, and the bear has this great moment of, isn't that nice for you? The bear is content to go about its business and just like leave them alone because it's tired, it doesn't want to be bothered. So I just start describing how the bear is going to go back into its cave and just go back to bed. And so he has to take another rock and he has to throw it again. And he's like starting to yell at the bear. You know, he's actively trying to get the bear's attention. And he's like, by the way, I'm going to put my javelin down so it's firm to the ground. Oh, okay. So finally he gets the bear's attention. He throws another rock and the bear, and you hear thud, 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 thud. Bear comes, gonna just take his huge paw, right in the javelin. He's like, yeah! Bear slides down a little bit, and he's like, yeah! I got the bear! The bear. He's like, oh shit, the bear's not dead! I'm like, no, the bear's not dead. I was like, it's hurt. Through circumstantial bonuses, through everything else, he did about 12 damage to a black bear. And I'm just using the one right out of the monster manual. Maybe I made it a little bit stronger, a little bit weaker. And so I think it had 14 hit points. And in one fell swoop, he took out 12 of them. So the thing is sliding down his pole arm that he can no longer use because it's in the bear. And it just swiped the fuck out of his face. He was like, oh shit. And so the next moment, the other two are like, okay, we gotta help. And the bard's like, well, I can do this or do that. And Nicole's never played a bard before, so she's trying to figure out which thing to do. And so Karlea's character has that moment of, okay, I can fight this. And she uses, I think, a short bow or something, and just does, rolls, hits the bear, and the bear dies. But it was that oh shit moment of, here is our fighter, the tank, and he just, 12 points of damage is pretty impressive. But the creature had 14 points of health. So, after they killed the bear, there was that moment of like just machismo from the fighter, because the fighter's hurt and the fighter's pissed. So he takes his great axe, picks it up, and he just coup de grace the passed out bear, completely removing the head from the body. Now, he's just so angry that he doesn't, the old man that hired them's dead, and the bear almost killed them. So he lops off the head and just like leaves it there. That's how angry he just leaves it there. And they investigate the cave and they find some of the smoked ham, the smoked salmon, the wild berries, some of the cabbage the farmer grew. Just different things that the farmer had complained about. The bear was eating it. So they're left with the question, well, did the bear kill the farmer? So they're pondering this, and they all head back up to the cabin just to, get back to the main road and go back to town, and explain, everything they found. Well, in the course of tracking the bear down, fighting the bear, and then coming back to the cabin, about 3.5 hours passed, and now it's the sun set. When they go back to the cabin, they see the lights are turned on, and the old man's walking around. The bard asks, the bard's like, is he alive? Or did we miss something? And the fighter, Jace, no, Bell, he had this huge gash across his face, across his neck, and there was blood all over his tunic. Pretty sure he's dead. Well, they go in to investigate, and they find that the old man is walking around just groaning. And the old man starts taking some swings at them, and so that they have to fight him. Well, it's a walker, it's a zombie, it's whatever you want to call it. It is the undead. Player's Handbook 1 Undead. These things are recommended to be fought in groups so they can closer. It's just one. But it has the thing where it's not too affected by bludgeoning. So they're using piercing and slashing weapons. They're leaving these huge gashes across the zombie's chest, but again, it's a zombie, so it's taking the damage, but just keeps coming and coming. And this old man just gets closer and closer. Karlea's character, Reina, took an arrow and got it through the thing was groaning, and the arrow went through that piece of flesh right there. Jace, Jonathan's character, with his great axe, put this huge gash here. Nicole's character, Bell, with her light crossbow, put some puncture marks in the guy. And after a while, the zombie falls. And they're just examining this old man who just reanimated and coming after them. They're trying to figure out what the hell's going on. Well, while they're doing this, there's some commotion inside the cabin. This dark, hooded figure comes out and starts kind of lobbing spells at them, and they make quick haste of the caster. But during the thing is Belle, trying to use her suggestion, was like, well, maybe you shouldn't attack us, we're friendly, we're here to help. And the guy just standing there goes, the book said you're lying. And the funniest part about that is the book says you're lying, and I'm like, then he snaps his fingers. I had acid splash, but what I did for it was, you hear the bubbling of a ball starting to form above you. She's like, what? And she looks up. It's a ball of acid, and it's called acid splash, so this ball lets gravity take it. 2 points of damage, and she's like, ah! It's kind of funny to see these 0 levels and first level spells doing considerable amounts of damage, because again, they're all level 1s too. Nicole and Karlea have level adjustments, but that's still, their hit points are still hurting them. So they make quick work of this caster, break him all to hell, and on the caster they find a book wrapped with cloth. Unwrap it. It is then has all this wire wrapped around it, so the book can't be opened. So they're kind of curious about that book. They search him and his pockets. They find 2 vials of liquid. Not sure what they are, not sure what they do. One's kind of brown, one's kind of sky blue. So that they're wondering, and he had a ring on. So they're wondering, and Jace's character, who is a new boot with the city guards, like, well, we need to tell people that there's a necromancer in our midst. So they take that, and he looks at one of the liquids, and he's examining it, and I have Jonathan there. He's like, could one of these be a heal potion? I'm like, it could be something else. Would I have any reference to what a heal potion looks like? Yeah, but all potions aren't created equal. They're all different colors. So he's looking at the sky blue one and this brown one. And finally he just has Jace kind of go, if it's my time, it's my time. He pops the cork off. And he stands there for a second, and he's waiting, examining his body. And he starts to feel the scratch marks on his face kind of heal a little bit, and they're closing up a bit. And he's like, oh, thank God, it was a heal potion. That moment of desperation became, oh, thank the Lord, and there's something going on. So, after they've done all this, they now go back into town, and now they're carrying the dead body of the mage and the dead body of the old man. Well, they forgot the bear head. They forgot anything about the bear, which they were sent off to do. So, some roaming guards come across them and go, you know, what's going on? Why are you dragging two things? And Jace luckily knew these two guards, and he's like, well, hold on, guys, I'm bringing these in as evidence. They're like, oh, okay. And he first shows the mage. He's like, this person attacked us, and we want to know who it is, so we're bringing him back to you. And the city guards, oh, okay, well, that makes sense. Well, thank you. And then he shows off the second one. He's like, and this zombie attacked us too. And they show off this old man who just has all this shit done to him. And the city guard, what the hell? Because zombies don't decay immediately. So it just looks like they committed a hate crime on this old man. So the group had to do a lot of smooth talking really quickly to be like, well, it was a zombie, cast it, you know. And the city guard's all like, if you were anybody else, I'd be arresting you right now. And the city guard's kind of like, gives him this piece of wood with a burning in it. He's like, here is a pass. If any other guards stop you, you came from this tower, just go into town, get what you need, and put these bodies somewhere. Go. So, they take him back to the Dragoon Order of Oscar Olsen. The guards are looking at these bodies, and they're like, that doesn't concern us. We asked you to take care of a bear. Did you take care of a bear? It's like, yeah, yes, we understand that's the old man who sent you for the bear. And they're like, yes, we took care of the bear. So the players get their 50 gold. And, you know, Jace being, you know, a new city guardsman, well, shouldn't you investigate any of this? And the people running this order are like, we don't live in the city. This is y'all's problem. You go figure it out. We get to go home at the end of this week. So he's a little frustrated about that. They take the bodies out, take them to the captain of the guard. They explain the same story. Captain of the guard says, hey, I'll look into it. And so that was pretty much the end of their adventuring for the most part, except they had some items that they didn't know what the hell they were. They had this book that was bound, they couldn't figure out why. They had this vial of something, and they had a ring. And they had earned 50 gold. Well, they're like, well, there's mages in this city, so let's go ask some of the mages. And I tell them that, you know, a lot of time passes, and you kind of get laughed out of some shops. You are just told, hey, you need to come back when you have more money. So they finally end up at one shop called the Wandering Wand, and they put down the vial and the ring. And they're like, can you tell us what it is? And the guy's like, well, it's going to be 140 gold. And they're like, well, we don't have that kind of money. And so through some slick negotiations, they get the guy down to, will you examine both items for the cost of 1 pearl for the spell Identify if we sell you the more powerful of the 2 items? And the guy's like, oh, well, okay. So the guy tells me, you know, come back in 2 hours. 2 hours later, they find out it's a potion of bark skin plus 3. So it could, they're level 1 characters, this potentially could help them out really well. And its retail value 600 gold, so he can sell it back comfortably to them for $300 because he needs to make a profit. And the other thing was a ring of protection, the standard +1. And the guy explains that on the east end after you cross the desert, these are fairly common, but over here they're a little more rare, but I mean, they're not hard to come by. So they retail for 2,000 gold. So he would feel comfortable selling it back to them at 900 because he was deducting the cost of the pearl. And it was fun because I've never had this moment with this particular group of them exploring and having that moment of, this is a world, people have to make profit. So there's some wheels and deals that you have to do, you know. There was kind of that moment of like, well, we thought you were going to deduct it from the big cost, and, you know, it was like, no, I'm going to deduct it from the cost, I'll buy it back from you. So they begrudgingly, they sell both items, so everybody gets 400 gold. So 50 gold divided by 3, plus each character got 400 gold. And they're like, wow, okay. Part of their deal was, though, that they were kind of going to be exclusive with this one shop. Because the shopkeeper said, you know, I do have a problem with people from the Desert Trade Association coming in, you know, making some slick deals, and I always get the bitter end of it. So if you say that you're going to come to me and me only, we can do business. And the group doesn't have a problem with that. They're like, okay, we can do that. And so they finally show him the book, pull out the book. The guy looks at it, feels a little unnervous about it. He's like, look, I'm just the shopkeeper. The owner of the store won't be back until the end of the week, which is still Schnitzel. He's like, come back in 5 days. I'll let the owner look at it, and we can just go from there. And the group says, okay, well, that's fair. They leave his shop, and they go to through more conversation, more dialogue, Reina reveals, hey, I'm living, or I've been being taken care of by the Druids outside of town. Maybe they know something about this. So they go outside of town and talk to the Druids. It takes them a while to get there. And there's 2 Druids, Thus, standing there. He's a normal human. Standing there, has this long white hair. He's getting rather old. And he's talking to a deer named Maria. And the deer's talking back. And they're having this long and detailed conversation about, this tree is starting to rot. Is it our place to cut down this tree to allow future growth of more healthier subjects of the same family? Or is it our place to let the tree rot so that other life, maybe less savory, can take over? It was a very existential conversation about what is the place of the druid? Is it our job to control nature, or is it our job to keep others from harming nature? So it is an interesting philosophy question to have your players kind of walk into. And at first they don't want to interrupt because they're listening to this, because I'm talking back and forth. And when I do dialogue between 2 characters that I'm both controlling, I like to do this. Well, is it not our place to cut down the tree and allow healthy growth? And then I'll do the turn. Well, there is still growth that could come from this rotting tree. So that they get a feel that there's 2 people sitting there having a conversation that they're listening to. At the end of their conversation, they take notice of Reina, and we have just finished an 8-month-long campaign where Karlea was a character named Batani, who was kind of shy and timid. Well, she's only been away from that character for a couple weeks, so now she's trying to play Reina, who's more blunt and more... She told me how she wanted to play this character. She never has a problem finding the words to what she says unless she just doesn't understand it. So she gets there and she's a little timid because there's these 2 people having a conversation. And she starts having that moment of, well, if you're not busy... And so I know how she wants to play her character. I know how she's playing it right now. She's still thinking in the mind of Batani. I just make Thus, the one that's not shapeshift, turned around later. Raina, you've never had a problem mincing words before. What's wrong? What are you nervous about? Is there a problem with these people that are following you? You know, I make him direct so she has to act direct again. And she's like, no, I'm fine. I'm just curious about this book. So they let the two druids examine it. And Thus takes the book, looks at it, and goes, hands it back. You need to leave this book out of our sanctuary. You need to get it the hell out of here. They're like, well, what's wrong with it? We're like, we don't know what's in it. We're not going to look, but it's bound with dwarven flesh. And so there's this little conversation on the side between Jace and Bell. How does the druid know what dwarven flesh tastes like? I don't know. And so they're like, what's up with this guy? And they're like, okay, well, we're going to leave. And so they get to the outside of the sanctuary, and that's where I ended the night there, was, do you want to wait till Schnitzel to get this book examined, or do you want to wait never and just go open it up, start reading what's in it? So it was just that moment of curiosity, what do we do? And that's what I wanted to leave on. Alright, so that's the end of After the Dice 1. I think I'm going to record After the Dice 2 right now, and I'll post this one tonight. I'll upload this one tonight, and then I'll upload the one I'm about to record tomorrow. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please like, share, and subscribe if you already haven't. You have a good night, guys.